What's up, everybody? Today is another fantastic day on the Gen Z Sanctum. I am your host today, Nathan, with my co-host Nate.
Yo.
That's all.
Yep, that's
Just
just yo. That's all I got.
so, uh, as of course with all these episodes, we introduce small talk. But then again, it is Christmas themed. Once again, it is the last Wednesday before Christmas.
Exactly.
A
Christmas is on
so
Monday this year.
it is, which is a really weird day to have Christmas on.
Exactly.
Just yeah, Monday.
It's on a Monday. All right,
So,
Snow, where are you?
what's
Get
been
it.
going
Get it.
on with you lately?
Stuff and things. Okay, I'll be more
Stuff and
specific.
things.
I'll be more
Wow.
specific.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, just some stuff and things. Anyway, no. So job coach is pushing our meeting until after the new year. So next time I see her will be the 16th of January. Interesting, considering that she hasn't really done a whole lot and hasn't found me a job, which would be nice.
So, you know what I find interesting? Why you're using a job coach is if the job coach isn't really very helpful.
Because they're supposed to be helpful. But this job
Well, they're
coach
not.
is not
So
exactly.
I would be like, well, guess what? I don't need you because you are just wasting my time.
Yeah, I
So,
have been thinking about that the last person because this is the second one. So the last
oh, I thought
one,
you were still on the original one.
no, the original one also sucked, and so we gave up on them after they did nothing. And so this one, my mother was like, "Listen, give them more time, a little more time, because this one's got a little more experience. So let's give her a couple of months and see what we can pull up." So here we are, 4 months later,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
nothing.
say a couple months. That was a while ago.
Yeah, so here we are 4 months later, and I'm still
And still no
unemployed.
job.
So, let me just say this. No, I'm kidding. No.
Ah,
Anyway, editor, bleep. I didn't actually say the word, so you don't have to bleep anything. Just bleep. Bleep.
future me, bleep it out.
Yeah. Bleep. Editor. Bleep everything that Nathan says out.
How you gonna bleep that out?
Like this. Beep. Anyway, so
Anyway, so
that's all I got
it
for
has
small talk.
been really slow.
Oh dang.
Like when I say really slow, I mean really slow. So
Dang, so
I got my first.
you walk into work and say, "Hey, what's up?" and they're like, "Oh, no, not that kind of stuff."
Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, half the day at work, I had just about nothing to do. Like, I'm
Dang,
not even joking. So, yeah.
that
It's
sucks.
kind of slow during this time of year. Like, it can be on the regular, sometimes not.
Dang.
But anyway, so I stood around like half the day with legit nothing to do. So, it's been a bit of a boring day.
So they pay you to just sit there?
I'm salaried, yeah.
Dang. Okay. Uh.
So, the thing is, even if they, you know how some jobs will send you home to save like money
Mm-hmm.
on employment. Even if they send me home, I'm still getting paid for the full day. So it's not like I'm losing money if they send me home halfway through the day. So that's why they usually keep people there anyway.
Dang. So if you come into work and you get sick and you vomit everywhere and they're like, "Listen, go home," you're getting paid for the hours you're not there.
Yep. That's how salary pay works.
Dang, alrighty then. That sounds like cheating. I'm kidding.
But
That's the guy who
here's the
doesn't have a job at
downside
all,
of
so I'll just shut up.
here's the downside of salary pay. So if we were open till like 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd be working an hour for free.
Dang, that sucks.
So that is the downside. So we get paid for 8 hours a day.
Right.
So if I were to work more than 8 hours a day, well, that's tough luck. I'm still getting paid for only 8 hours.
So set a timer on your phone for 8 hours, and as soon as your paid time is up, you just leave.
Well, I will say I'm there for 9 hours, but an hour of that is lunch. So,
Well, that makes sense. But like,
so
if they're like, "Hey, listen, we're open for an extra hour. Can you stay?" I'd be like, let me just check my wallet." "Oh, you only get off at 8. That 1 hour would not be paid for. It's free." "Oh, I guess I'm leaving. I'll see you later."
well,
Yes, that's how wallets
that
talk.
is unfortunately not how salary pay works.
Dang.
So.
Yeah, I would have left. I would have been like, "Listen, I'm only paid to be here 8 hours. My shift is 8 hours, so no, I'm not staying an extra hour. See you later."
Well, we wish we could do that sometimes, but no.
Dang. Maybe you should, I don't know, something. I don't know.
No, I ain't gonna do nothing.
Dang. Anyway, so, yes.
Yes.
So,
the topic today.
yes,
is a Christmas-related topic.
Is.
Oh, we are going to talk about the traditions of Christmas, and not the traditions like personal traditions, the Santa Claus. And where
Fake.
did he resort from?
All right, thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, no, I'm kidding. But no, seriously,
just pure silence.
fake.
Fake.
So basically, you're talking about not the traditions of Christmas, but the origins of Christmas.
The origins of traditions.
Right.
So
I don't think
I will
Santa's a
not be talking
tradition,
about
but okay.
the origin of Krampus because
Krampus.
I don't like talking about him because talking about him is almost like worshiping the devil, and
Dang.
I don't entirely agree with that.
Neither
Like
do
it
I.
literally is.
Krampus,
It
Krampus,
literally
Krampus,
is.
Krampus, 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 Krampus. Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. I need a stick.
I'll take that.
Back.
Wow, take the stick and shove it up your. Wait. Hold on a second.
This is a family-friendly podcast. Shut
Is
the
it?
frick up.
Krampus, 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 Krampus. Okay, I'll stop.
Wow.
Anyway, no. So yeah, we'll be talking about the origins of different Christmas traditions and other such things.
There are so many different origins of Santa Claus, like the origin of
Santa Claus changes
jolly old
a
Saint
lot.
Nicholas.
Santa Claus changes a lot, or like around the world when you're in different countries. Like there's all different kinds of his
Santa
dress
Claus
changes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but Santa Claus is the biggest in the United States.
Right, and also Germany is number 2.
Yeah.
Old Saint Nick.
Old Saint Nicholas. So anyway, apparently the origin of Santa Claus actually comes from Turkey. Believe it or not. Yeah.
Interesting.
I was actually shocked when I read that. I was like, I would have never guessed that. So the origin of Santa Claus is basically, so you know how Santa Claus, Saint Nick, Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, all different names. Apparently the actual origin, his name was Kris Kringle.
Right.
So the way it all started is that he was basically, so charity didn't really exist. So he was said, they don't know the exact time period, but he was to be, or they think he was born in like 926 AD or something like that. So
300
long
AD.
time ago.
300 AD. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and they say that he basically, I don't think it was on December 25th, but he just loved going around
the time, yeah.
Yeah. Around like winter time, and when people were struggling, he loved going around helping them out with food, helping them out with groceries, clothes, stuff they needed,
Yeah.
That's kind of where the origin came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of philosophy kept going, hey, let's make him into a fancy magical man who's got a big belly, he's got a big white beard, he wears a big red suit and flies around the world in a sleigh of reindeer, and
Yeah,
it's evolved over the years.
Santa Claus has really changed from where he first began, a Christian bishop who lived in Turkey.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So,
Oh, not that turkey. Oh, okay. Sorry, a different turkey. Different turkey.
wow.
Yo, hey Santa Claus, where are you from? Oh, I'm from. Sorry to all the Turkish listeners out there. I was not trying to be racist. Anyway.
Uh-huh.
Nah, who am I kidding? Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop.
All right. So, that is one of the big origins of Santa Claus.
Do you know the specific story that made him as famous as he is?
The specific story, no, I didn't go that deep into the article.
Okay, I will tell you the story of Saint Nick, the one that's told the world over, and basically was the first story that basically made him become who we know and love today as Santa Claus.
All right, I'll make sure to get ready.
Wow. Okay. So, this happened in Turkey, as we know. Basically, the story is of Saint Nicholas, not a saint yet. He was just a bishop at the time. Essentially, what happened was he lived next door to this older man and his wife and 3 beautiful daughters. And though that older man was about to lose his house, but if he could marry off his 3 daughters to 3 wealthy men, then he could be saved from debt and also save the house. Well, Bishop Nicholas found this out, and one night late in the year, around December 25th, we don't know the exact date, but a late night in December, he comes creeping along to his neighbor's house, and he drops a bag of gold in through the window. And so the next morning they find it, and the first daughter is married off to this rich. They need a dowry. Basically, the father needs a sum of money to give with the daughter to whoever he's marrying her off to, but he couldn't afford that. So Nicholas gives a bag of money for the first daughter. He comes back the following night, drops a second bag for the second daughter. Once the father figures this out, he closes and locks the window and puts a stocking, which is essentially a long sock, over the fireplace. The fire had died out, so Nicholas, all he could do when he found the window to be closed was climb up onto their roof and drop the third bag of money for the third daughter down the chimney, which landed in the stocking. And the old man, who stayed up late waiting to see who it was that was giving this money to them, rushed outside and found it to be Nicholas. And Nicholas said, don't tell anyone that it was me who helped you. And that is essentially the story of Santa Claus.
And that's why Santa Claus is a full... I wouldn't necessarily call it like a ghost story, but it's a story of...
This is not a ghost story,
fantasy.
But yeah, that's the legend of Santa Claus and how he came to be.
Which is quite interesting.
Very
but
interesting.
As you can see, from the origin of the story, you can kind of see where all the tradition, the stocking, the fireplace,
the chimney,
all that stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So, Nathan, do you know the origin story of the Christmas tree?
I remember reading it, but it's been a few years. I'm a little rusty on the origin story.
Well, tell me what you do remember about the origin of the Christmas tree.
I don't remember if I heard a different origin story from the actual original,
Okay, what did you hear though?
I believe it came from Germany, if I'm correct.
Correct. It did come
Yes.
from Germany,
Okay.
but
And it was a specific tree that they would decorate. It was an evergreen, but it was like a specific type of evergreen that they would decorate with candles. Is what it was, I think.
so
Something like that. If I remember
partially
correctly, it was a
partially true.
specific evergreen.
Partially true. Um However, it was not an evergreen tree, it was an oak tree. Let me tell you this story. So, the story of the Christmas tree actually started off as a pagan thing. So, pagan meaning non Christian, which sounds kind of dumb because, like, technically for Christians, like Islamic would be pagan, right? Pagan being non-Christian or the original religion of a country that the Christians then moved into. Which we're not going to get into all of that because usually when Christianity reaches a country, especially back in the Middle Ages, it didn't go so well for the natives. But we're not going to talk about that in this story. So, the Christmas tree is a story from Germany where essentially there was this great oak tree, giant. This was the biggest oak tree you've ever seen. And the people who lived near it worshipped it as a god. And they would hang things from it, so candles, as I said, other fancy pieces of colored cloth, other stuff like that. They would like hang it and they would worship the tree. Then comes along a Catholic, I think, priest or bishop who on Christmas Eve brought an axe and chopped the tree down by himself, claiming, "This tree is no god, you should worship the Lord instead," and chops the tree down, and it falls to the ground. And to sort of remember the tree that got cut down, every year the people of Germany would bring a tree into their own house and decorate it. But as always, very few people remember the pagan origins of the Christmas tree because Christianity has sort of absorbed the story and turned it into a modern Christmas thing.
Huh.
Very
I guess I did
interesting
hear
origin.
a different story. I know it was from Germany. That I definitely remember.
Yes. The people would bring trees into their house and decorate it to remember the original tree that everybody worshipped back when that was a thing that a Catholic priest cut down.
Yeah, which, that's a little interesting, the fact that a tree would be something that you would worship.
Oh, back in the day, people would worship all sorts of strange things. Like, it would rain, and they would worship it. Like, oh, look, the god of clouds. And, they used to worship the sun. Like, yeah. There were...
You know what that's called? Desperation.
That's called, dumb.
Yeah.
That's called...
That's just called dumb.
That's called early civilizations didn't know how the world worked and just thought that if you prayed hard enough, rain would fall on your crops. That's not really how that works.
No.
But yeah, so those are two very interesting stories. But I kind of hijacked the episode. I'll let you go back to what you were doing.
And then we do have the Santa Claus, but then we have the Christian aspect of Christmas.
Right,
Jesus
of course.
Was born in a manger.
Yep.
Although one thing that I find pretty interesting
is
the fact that we celebrated on December 25th, which is obviously winter.
Yep.
But if you go in the Bible, it describes as it being summer or spring.
Interesting. Well, it doesn't describe the exact, it doesn't say December 25th. It doesn't say,
like I said,
the 25th,
it doesn't describe the actual temperature of what it was.
Or the date.
What we can describe what we can see that the Bible is describing is that it's in the spring or summer, like it's warmer weather, not freezing weather.
Interesting.
So I find it
Fascinating.
interesting that we celebrate it on December 25th, but it actually really happened in the spring or summer. At least that's what we understand.
Interesting.
Which I'll recommend that you watch the Nativity story. So we watch every year we watch the Nativity story movie. I think it came out in like 2005,
Okay, let me
2006 or something like that.
let me let me read you a little something here. So, the nativity, the time that of course, is mentioned. Let's see, the nativity accounts in the New Testament from Matthew and Luke do not mention a date or time of year when Jesus was born. So we here's what people assume. So when was Jesus born? Let's see. According to the Bible, like it says, modern day. Of course, modern day people celebrate December 25th. I freaking don't know why. But let's see. If we read here, it's reading off some Bible quotes. But because of the yeah, now in the 6th month. So the 6th month at the time was Augustus, or August as we know it today. So
Yeah.
not December, because Augustus, and that's another interesting thing, because do you know what the origin of the month of August is from, and July?
I actually don't.
Roman emperors. So July is after Julius Caesar, the emperor of Rome, who named an entire month after himself. Hence July. August is Augustus Caesar, another Roman Caesar who named an entire month after himself. So at the
Yeah.
time of Jesus' birth, Augustus, the month of Augustus was a thing, because he had just, this Roman Caesar at the time of Jesus' birth, I believe, was Caesar Augustus. Yes, it was. It was Caesar Augustus. So he had just done that. He had just been like, oh, an entire month on me. Yeah, we're on like the second week of me right now. Which so vain that a ruler would name a month after himself. Oh, good morning, everyone. It's the 5th of me. Yeah. Oh, by the way, when do you get off work? Oh, about the 22nd of me. But yeah, no. Yeah. It describes Jesus' birth as taking place around August or September, not December.
So
Fascinating.
that would be more of a summer slash fall
Summer, fall,
birth.
yeah. So, you continue. I'm assuming you have notes or whatever. What do you? Are you going to talk about the origins of the wise men?
The origins of the wise men, from what I understand, I don't have notes on them, but from what I understand, so the nativity scene, it's a big part of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Nativity movies,
Mm-hmm.
they describe, so they say there was three wise men.
Mm-hmm.
As far as we understand, we don't know if that's actually true because the Bible never says three wise men. They just say three gifts. So
Correct.
we don't. We're just assuming because there were three gifts brought by the wise men. We're assuming that meant there was three that came, but we
Correct.
don't know that.
It just says a group of wise men. It doesn't say three.
Yeah,
A group could
but
be
three
three,
gifts
4, 5.
were
It could be
brought.
more. Exactly. So
Yeah.
people assume that that's true. Also, this is very interesting. But speaking of the nativity, did you know that the depiction of the nativity is kind of wrong, almost?
Wrong as in how? I can understand the wise men being wrong, but what else would have been wrong?
Two other things. One, the wise men did not come at Jesus' birth. They
That is
came
true. I do
three
remember
years
that. I
later.
do remember.
He was a
Yeah.
toddler by the time they came. They
Yeah.
saw the star on his birth, but they took a long time to travel from wherever they were from. By the time they reached Jesus, it had been about approximately 3 more years.
Yeah.
Second thing, not a stable. It was not a stable where Jesus was born. It was a place where animals were kept, which back in the day could have been a stable, but it also could have been a small cavern in the side of a hill, which would have been a lot cheaper, especially for them to just hollow out the side of a hill to keep their animals in than to build an entire structure just for the animals. So
Yeah.
it's assumed that it was a stable, but the word stable is never mentioned again in the Bible. It's just
But the manger
manger.
is accurate.
Manger is
Manger is
accurate, yes.
accurate.
That's because manger is a thing that was used to feed animals for long before Jesus was born. That's a given. But where the
Yeah.
manger was placed, either a stable or a small cave, that's not said.
Yeah.
So,
Which I find interesting. Like, Christmas has a lot of traditions, but they've come from a long way. And
yes.
here's one thing that really bugs me
Hmm.
is the fact that Christmas is being almost cut away from its original tradition of like the origin of why we celebrate Christmas. Yeah, it's people think it's all about Santa Claus and all that. No, it's not. It's just more of a Santa Claus is more of a I think buffer for the kids, for the
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, having more hope, but the fact of people trying to discern people from the actual Christmas, they replace Chris Christ with X.
Xmas, yeah. That
I
makes me
re-
mad.
that makes me really mad.
Yeah, which is
That's
unfortunately what's
yep,
happening
that's
in
called
modern society.
politics for you.
That's just
Good grief.
that's you would be amazed by what happens if you create something and then enough time is left to just happen. How things change over long periods of time. It's just awful in some cases.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous if you ask me.
Oh yeah. So, what other sorts of things do you have about Christmas traditions and
So those are
legends and
the
stuff?
origins that I am aware of,
Okay.
at least.
Do you want to hear about how Santa is celebrated in other parts of the world?
Krampus knocked it. No, I'm just kidding.
So again, Krampusnacht is German. It's fascinating that Germany came up with a lot of things.
Well, keep in mind that
Christmas
most
tree.
immigrants in the U.S., at least from what I've seen, maybe it's just everybody I know, but a lot of them are German.
A lot of the people we know are German, but go to certain parts of the country and that changes pretty quickly.
Fair, fair. But I am mostly German, so I am
Yes.
speaking from my perspective.
Yes. I was adopted, so I have no idea what I am, which is kind of interesting. But here's something else that's very interesting. In Germany, presents are not left under the tree, not always.
What
People.
do you mean by not always?
So
Like,
there's a
why would some be and some not?
it depends on what your traditions are. So there's a tradition in Germany, and I think Holland as well does this. Holland being a section of the Netherlands, leaves their shoes out on their front step or their porch, leaves their shoes outside. And when they wake up in the morning, this is the story anyway, I don't know how it really happens, but the story is when they wake up in the morning and they open their door, their shoes have been stuffed with presents.
Huh.
So very fascinating. That's kind of cool,
Very interesting.
especially
So
in
then why
yeah.
would some gifts be left under the tree?
It all changes. Like Christmas changes. Oh, be real time. Be real time.
Barrel.
Hold on. Be real time. Be real time. I don't know why I'm making those noises. Honestly, probably because I'm just dumb.
I posted. First one to post.
I don't know. Sorry.
As you start dying.
So, we are hitting 30 minutes, but I want to tell you about one more Christmas tradition thing.
Okay.
Even though this is your episode, I kind of hijacked it again. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't really care. I'm finding these interesting.
Okay, so one more. Have you heard of the Christmas ceasefire?
No.
Okay, so let me break it down to you. Let's go back in time. Let's hop in our TARDIS and go back in time to the First World War, not the second, the first, which 1913 to 1915 or 16. Anyway, during the early time, it was around Christmas time, and we were on the Western Front of the war, which, of course, World War One. You think of trenches. You think of the 1911 gun, which was invented famously for the First World War. You think of a lot of those different types of things. You think of Amnesia the Bunker, which is set in the First World War. So this was, of course, a fight between the Americans, the British, the French against, of course, the Germans, which also happens to be the people we fought against in the Second World War. But this is the first. So, around Christmas time, heavy battles are happening. Things are exploding. People are dying, and there's a whole big battle going on. But then, all of a sudden, in the middle of a battle, everything stops because it's Christmas, and nearby church bells start ringing to celebrate Christmas.
I know what you're talking about.
The battle
I know
stops.
What you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
the battle stops,
Yeah.
and the Germans and the Allied forces start playing like soccer and opening presents together. It's one of the only times in history that Christmas stopped a war and the two sides shook hands and celebrated Christmas together.
Yeah, then I've seen jokes made about that, like the Christmas ceasefire, and then after that, people like, I'm so sorry, we had a great time.
I had a great time. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna kill you now. Anyway, but no. Essentially, it was. Let me look up the date. Christmas armistice is what it's called. I can't spell Christmas.
You're like Christmas.
Christmas. The Christmas armistice. Christmas 1914. So 1914, December 24th, 1914, a 5-month cease of hostilities to celebrate Christmas. 5 months, fascinating. So what? Like Christmas, they waited until like April of the next year, and was like, all right, time to start killing people again.
Yes, time to absolutely murder people now.
Yeah. Anyway, we're at They're nearly 35 minutes now, so that's all I've got.
Cool. All right. Well, Nathaniel had a lot more of the interesting stuff this
Yes.
episode. So anyway, I want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas, and
Yes.
we will see you next week. Bye
Exactly.
bye.
Bye.